So, are you struggling with procrastination while navigating life with ADHD? You are not alone, and you are not out of options either. In today's episode of the Minute Mastery podcast, we are looking into practical, empowering strategies that can help you manage your time, boost your focus, and create lasting change without feeling overwhelmed. Whether you are an author, an entrepreneur, or just anyone trying to stay on track, these small shifts can lead to big wins. Welcome to the Minute Mastery Podcast, a conversational productivity and time management podcast where busy authors and entrepreneurs are inspired to create time for what truly matters. I'm your host, Ngozi Edema. I'm a time management coach, writer, and entrepreneur. Here, you are encouraged to turn your minutes into milestones and to create at least 1 hour a day working on your goals without feeling overwhelmed. And while you are here, hello mamas and papas in the house. Are you looking for the next book for that special kid in your life? Here is a book recommendation for you. Meet Freddy in Freddy and the Veggies, an adventure where veggies are superheroes, fun, colorful, and a parent's secret weapon. Say goodbye to veggie battles at the dinner table because in Freddy and the Veggies, kids discover that healthy eating can be an exciting adventure. And they can still hang out with their sweet friends too. Fun characters and lively illustrations available in the Kindle store and on paperback formats. My guest in this episode is Sue Day. Sue is the founder of Pathways Forward Coaching and the author of ADHD Brilliance and ADHDer herself. She is a passionate advocate and an expert in helping adult ADHDers embrace their extraordinary brains. Our approach is about celebrating neurodiversity and transforming mindsets of perceived deficiencies into mindsets of strengths. You are welcome to the show, Sue.
Thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be here, and I love that that you really focused on that last sentence there.
Yes, it's funny that you mentioned that. Let's start from there. I love that sentence. Transforming mindset of perceived deficiencies into mindset of strengths. Now, the trend I see these days is that people, when they are diagnosed with things like ADHD or any other problem like that, they run away with the deficiency instead of running away with the strengths that this could mean for them. So, how do you help people transform that mindset of perceived deficiency into mindset of strength?
Yeah, that's a really fantastic question, and it's not an overnight cure. You know, there's no overnight like transformation. Like, well, I can just be the strongest person ever and accept my ADHD with no regrets or whatever. But it's a long, slow journey, and actually knowing that you have ADHD is the first step, because you probably, if you have had ADHD, you've had it all your life, and those deficiencies those challenges that come with ADHD have been affecting you all your life. Now you have an answer as to why. Now you know, I'm not wrong, I'm not bad, I'm not broken. I have a difference in my brain. And having that knowledge can help empower us to move forward into, okay, well, what can I do with that knowledge? How can I move forward in my life and understand that I have this different brain? How can I move into a place of strength from it? And it's a journey, right? It takes time, but having that knowledge and knowing you're not broken and that ADHD is called a deficiency. It is a disability for sure, especially in the way our societies are structured. However, it also comes with great strengths and amazing attributes that can really help us thrive. So learning how to be kind to ourselves, understand that we do not are not broken or bad, and then learning how to move forward and finding our strengths and working in our strengths in order to thrive in our life moving forward is, I find it's a really powerful journey to go on. And a lot of people start with like, but I can't, right? And then I often say, well, maybe you can't now, maybe you can't in this situation. But remember, when you say can't, use something afterwards. It's never I just can't. I can't but this, or I can't but that. So I can work my way through into being able to being to cans, as long as I have the right motivation, the right desire, the right tools to move myself into that.
Thank you. You see, what you just said reminds me of something. I've seen people with some other disabilities like vision loss, and I noticed that many of them, because they lost one sense, the other senses seems to work better than the rest of us. So you see someone with a vision loss, they listen very well because that is how they get their information. I mean, we can all do well with listening very well, but their kind of listening and paying attention to details is amazing. So, and I watch them run away with that ability to do certain things that the rest of us cannot do. So I see ADHD as the same thing. You have a problem, a deficiency somewhere, but then there are other aspects of you that works better than most people. So run away with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on top of that, especially later diagnosed, we've been learning how to live with this on our own. We can become so resilient because like realizing what we've learned to live with on our own with all of these challenges
Yeah.
is really powerful.
Yeah. So what has your personal and professional experiences been like living with or supporting others with ADHD?
It's a long story. I will keep it as short as I possibly can. As ADHD has affected my entire life, right? So I was lucky enough to be diagnosed when I was 16, 1988, when girls were not diagnosed for ADHD. And I was unfortunate that really nobody believed that I had ADHD, but I knew I had ADHD. So that helped me with my mindset, right? I knew I wasn't broken. There was just something different about me. And I was able to embrace that. And through life, I dropped out of high school, went to college, went to 5 colleges, finally decided to create my own major, decided not to work in that major at the time, had 5 more careers, and then finally got really burnt out because I was not working in my strengths. I was not working in a way that I thought I should be working, and not in a way that my ADHD brain needed me to work. And I got so burnt out. And I finally worked with an ADHD coach to help me through that burnout. And when I did, I was like, wow. So my first degree was in outdoor education for social change. I created it myself. I was passionate about it. I am passionate about it. And I wanted to empower people. And through the coaching that I got, I realized coaching is all about empowering people. And ADHDers have so much power in them, so many gifts in them. And what better way to help people maybe not go through some of the things that I went through, or help people move forward from wherever they are, by helping them find their inner strengths and moving forward into where their best life, where their favorite life is. So that's sort of where I'm at. I've come full circle. I feel very at home here, and I love being an ADHD coach, where I get to empower ADHDers to find their own paths and their own strengths in their own lives.
Yeah, there's a huge market for that now because I don't know what is happening now. A lot of people are getting that diagnosis now. I don't know, maybe our food and everything, the environments and the elements that we are exposed to is making it a more common feature. And so a lot of people would like to hear that sort of story of empowerment, because I know it's just like any other disability. When you have it, you sometimes think in your head, is there a way out of this? Is there a way I can still live with this without all the things that comes? Is there a way I can live with this situation? So why do you think one of the problems that I've noticed with people with ADHD is that they procrastinate? So why do you think procrastination shows up so strongly for people with ADHD? And how can they begin to work their way through it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm just gonna preface that a little bit from what you said in about the diagnosis. I think actually one of the reasons why we're seeing higher rates of diagnosis right now is because we've been so underdiagnosed. It wasn't until 2009, I think it was, that it was accepted as an adult disorder. So now we're starting to see all of these extra diagnoses that were just undiagnosed cases before. The
Before
World Health Organization estimates that 85% of adult ADHDers are undiagnosed. So
undiagnosed.
there's a lot more of us to find out there. So it feels like there's this huge influx, but we're really catching up with the understanding of the brain challenges. It used to be just thought of as a kids disease, kids challenge.
Challenge, yeah.
Yeah. So procrastination, oh, that's a big thing, right? It's huge. And there's so many reasons behind why we procrastinate. The sort of most mechanical aspect of it is, well, there's a couple. One is we are often time blind. We don't perceive time in the way that a neurotypical brain perceives time. So there's like, for us, there's sort of like now and not now. We underestimate how long things are going to take. We overestimate if we're anticipating something we don't want to do. We overestimate how long it's going to take. We say, oh, we've got all the time in the world, so I can do this later. But then on top of that, and these years don't have we don't have a lack of attention, despite the fact the name attention deficit. We don't have a deficit of attention. We have an overabundance of attention. And we have no filters. What we really lack is filters for the things around us. And so what we need though, in order to find our motivation, is an emotion behind it. We need to be interested in it. We need to have some reason that we want to do something. And on top of that, we have also a lot of negative emotions about our ability to do things, sort of that can't mentality that we were talking about. And so we need to know the mentality. We need to know, because we feel like we can't, we often just won't start, or at least until the last second. And we feel like we need that sort of burst of fire to get us into that last, that's the motivation, right? It's that burst of like, oh crap, if I don't do this now, something's going to happen bad. And so to help, so that's sort of why we procrastinate. And I think that answers your question. So I'm going to
Yeah.
stop.
Okay. So how can they work their way through this?
So to get through procrastination and just about any challenge with ADHD, actually, we are very unique individuals. Maybe can be a little bit resistant to direction at times, and I'm being facetious. We tend to be very resistant to authority, and for whatever reasons, for many reasons, we need to find our own paths. Right. And that makes it hard for me to say, oh, well, there's this thing you can do to conquer your procrastination, because there isn't. It's just not that easy. So, but one of the biggest things is to know why you want to do it. Right. Know why and know what that emotion behind the task is. Another big thing is to be kind to yourself. ADHDers often we basically flagellate ourselves into doing things. You just can't. We just are so mean to ourselves in order to get things done. And that's our motivation, by just like yelling at ourselves and feeling bad unless we do things. And so turning that around, learning how to be kind to ourselves and learning what our whys are, where our emotions are, and how to move into that, and learn how to be our own best friend who keeps us accountable, as another really powerful tool. So learning how to be kind and keep ourselves accountable, not enabling, right? Not the kind of friend that's like, oh, honey, you don't want to do that. That's okay. But more the kind of friend that's like, oh, I heard you said you really wanted to do that. How can I help you, make sure you meet your goals? Be that kind of friend to yourself. And there's lots of tips and tricks, right? There's set timers, reverse timelines for like, okay, I need to be at work at 10. So what are the things that have to happen by then? So what time do I need to leave for work? Okay, I need to leave for work at this time. What time do I need to have my pants on? Okay, then I need to, figure out like sort of reverse engineering your time out the door is a really sort of helpful way to manage that time. Like instead of saying, "Oh, I've got 3 hours," I can totally do that, and then realizing that you wasted 2.5 hours on your whatever you wanted to do, and then all of a sudden you're struggling to get ready on time. And one of the things that constantly gets me is I add travel time, right? But I never
Okay.
add time for like I actually have to park and walk to the place too. So
Okay.
remembering that there are multiple steps in all of these things and accounting for all of those times. But setting visual timers, I have a really hard time setting my own like time blocking and like, oh, I'm going to do this for these hours and this for these hours. Those are arbitrary rules to me. I'm just making them up. I know that I'm making them up. I'm like, well, nobody's going to care if I don't do it. So I have other ways to get myself to do things like body doubling I offer a free body doubling every Friday morning, actually, for 2 hours. And so working alongside other people helps me get things done. And then having people I can ask for help when I need to. So creating some community where I can say, I need an accountability person to help me, make sure I get this task done, or I need to figure out how to delegate, or I need to, this task because I'm just not going to be able to do it. So those are a lot of the ways that I find are helpful to sort of, it doesn't prevent procrastination, but it helps moderate it a little bit.
Thank you. So many people with ADHD struggle with structure. What are some realistic ways they can create routines without feeling boxed in?
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about that, and that I struggle with creating my own structure because I'm trying to make arbitrary rules for myself, and
Mm-hmm.
and I know that they're just, arbitrary. So, there are lots of ways. So I'm married to my calendar. I put everything on my calendar. Often forget to put in travel time, but I am mostly married to my calendar. So calendars are important. There's to-do lists, but ADHDers are great at making to-do lists. I have one in front of me that was actually a brain dump of just like everything that I need to do. But I don't use that as my master list for the day, right? I use that I can grab things off of it because it's important for my positive emotion to have a list that's doable. So I create to-do lists off of my brain dump lists that are like 1 to 3 to 5 things, depending on the size of the thing, so that at the end of that, I can feel like I actually accomplished what I needed to accomplish. Creating sort of small structures, take things bite-sized is really, I talked a little bit about we overestimate time. We anticipate things like, oh, it's going to be awful. That's going to take all day, whatever.
Yeah.
But if we break our tasks down into little bite-sized bits, then all of a sudden they're doable. So just taking little bites off of the tasks are also a really helpful tool.
Thank you. I remember I had a hospital appointment not too long ago, and I was at the parking lot at the time I'm supposed to be meeting for my appointment. I forgot to add the time. It takes about 10 minutes walk from the parking garage to the point where I'm going to the reception. So I didn't count that 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So that I got there late, I knew obviously, but yeah, and when you were saying it, I know that usually I don't count the time from the parking lot to.
I'm like, oh, but Google says I'm going to be there at this time, and that's right at the right time, right?
Okay, so how can someone tell the difference between needing rest and avoiding a task due to procrastination? Because there's a difference. If I'm tired, I'm tired, but am I procrastinating?
Yeah. Yes. That is really hard to discern. And actually one of the tools for procrastination and all of our ADHD challenges are to many of the tasks are get enough sleep, eat well, and exercise. So how do we know when we're feeling overwhelmed and have way too many things to do? How do we know actually I'm going to be better off? I'm going to be able to do things better if I get sleep, move my body, and eat well. And we often don't prioritize those things. So, but how do we know? I think basically we live our life in a moderate state of overwhelm in general, with a lot of things swirling. Everybody does, but ADHDers even more. We can't shut down our brains. Everything's always swirling. We can't prioritize things. Everything is always top priority. If you're feeling tired, chances are that you're actually tired and you need to take a rest and then try and get your things done. I'm not sure if that answers your question really well.
Yeah. So, because sometimes when people procrastinate, they give them different names like you're lazy, you are. Whereas there's an underlying issue that is not being dealt with. So if I'm tired, I am tired. So I will procrastinate. I will push things for later just to take care of myself, which is very important. Like you said, for any one of us, rest is very, very important. So if I'm feeling tired, it's better to take a rest instead of carry on with the tasks that you can do later on. Yeah. If if uh, if there's something you can tell anyone listening to today's episode because they're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, what is the first step they can take right after this show to help them move the needle, so to speak?
That is a really interesting question. And also, it's going to depend on where you are in your journey and who you are. So, first step, if you don't have an ADHD community, see if you can like get on Meetup or Eventbrite or community pages. See if you can find an ADHD group so that you can create a community that you can talk to about your ADHD and hopefully find people that can help you sort of become accountable to yourself and help each other. It's so powerful to have that community. Something that's a little bit more immediate, be kind to yourself. When you hear yourself, I didn't get it done again. When you hear all those people, there's a study says 20,000, ADHDers hear 20,000 more negative things about ourselves by the time we're 10. So, and they're moral judgments. They're not just like, they're not physical judgments. They're moral judgments. You're lazy. I know you can do this, but you won't. They're moral judgments. And we feel so bad, and we've internalized that. We do that to ourselves to make ourselves get our work done, and it's exhausting and it's overwhelming and it makes us feel stuck. And so if you can switch that, start to try to, it's a lot to undo, start to try and switch that story. Like, that story was helpful when we needed it, but okay, I know I have ADHD now. I don't need that story. I know I'm not, to quote the book, crazy, lazy, or stupid. I need I have a different brain. So what I need is different than what I've been doing for myself. So trying to start switching that narrative to like, okay, this is hard. How can I help myself stay accountable as a friend instead of just beating myself into submission?
Thank you. So where can people reach you if they want to contact you after this show?
They can reach me on my website. I've been terrible at this question. It's like it's so easy, but I never have the right answer. So they can meet me on my website, pathwaysforwardcoaching.com. They can find me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Instagram is Pathways Forward Coaching. LinkedIn is under Sue Day. And I also have a book, which you can find on Amazon. And you'll be able to find differently on Amazon at the end of the month because I screwed up somehow the distribution of the book. And I'm sure you, Ngozi, can relate to how difficult book distribution is. But
Yeah.
and I can't wait to check out your books too. I love children's books. I have huge books shelves full of
Yeah.
children's. So, but you can find my book on my website or on Amazon, and it's called ADHD Brilliance: A Journey into Your Extraordinary Brain. It's all about finding your values and strengths and the tools you need to move forward into your favorite life. So, and it's a workbook.
It's a workbook. Okay. I love books like that. More interactive and all of that.
Yeah, and I made it large print, lots of pictures, lots of, it's really ADHD friendly as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for coming to the show to really like your perspective on this. Thanks for tuning in to the Minute Mastery podcast. If you have found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who could use more time in their day or someone who is currently struggling with ADHD. And remember to subscribe and leave us a review. Until next time, you are in control of your time and you've got this.